It's 23rd of August 2023, exactly 2 months after. Prigozhin and his Wagner troops tried to topple Putin's government. His plane RA-02795 crashes. There were a total of 10 people on the plane, which included the 2 founders of the Wagner Group, Prigozhin and Dmitry Utkin. 5 members of the Wagner Group, which included Valery Chekalov, the logistics head of Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of Wagner operations in Syria, Sergei Propustin, he was leading the Ukraine war for the region of Bakhmut city, Alexander Totmin. He handled Wagner operations in Sudan, as well as he was the social media manager for the group, and Nikolai Matusev, he was the right-hand man and bodyguard of Prigozhin. 3 crew members were also killed in the crash, which included Alexei Levshin, who was the captain of the aeroplane, and he had been working with the Wagner Group for a long time, and his family described his profession as a taboo subject. The co-pilot was Rustam Karimov. He was only 29 years old, and he worked for Wagner for less than 3 months. Kristina Raspopova, a 39-year-old flight attendant, was also killed. Molecular genetic testing was used to identify all 10 deceased, and it matched to the list published in the flight manifest. The investigation around the plane crash was completed, and Putin said,
Руководитель Следственного комитета докладывал буквально на днях, в телах погибших при авиакатастрофе обнаружены фрагменты ручных гранат. Внешнего воздействия на самолет не было.
But believing Putin here is like believing a butcher say that the goat died due to suicide. Moreover, Putin's track record of assassinating his enemies is very long and stick to the end, because later in the video I will get his other targets. Putin said that the detonation of a hand grenade inside the aircraft caused the crash. But would highly trained soldiers who knew about the mechanism of grenades in and out do such a stupid act of suicide? Moscow rejected an offer from Brazil, where the Embraer business jet was built, to join the crash inquiry. Even the International Civil Aviation Organization is not allowed to conduct their independent crash inquiry. A pro-Wagner Telegram channel claimed that Russian air defenses hit the plane. But as it was a proven Wagner source, we must take it with the grain of salt. But the plane crashed near the village of Kuzhenkino in Russia's Tver region, and eyewitness accounts reported an explosion even before the plane started falling. According to Flight Radar 24, which is an aerial tracking system, the aircraft ascended and descended several times before crashing. It went from 28,000 feet to 3,000, and then to 27,000 and 29,000 before crashing, which is not normal. Sooner or later, we might find out what happened on the plane. But at the same time, we see other signs that Putin is cracking down, such as with Evan Gershkovich. He is an American journalist of Russian heritage who was investigating the Wagner Group several months ago and was arrested in Russia earlier this year. And one very interesting fact here is that just before Prigozhin's plane went down, they announced that Gershkovich would be held in pre-trial detention for another 3 months. But now what about the Wagner Group and what will happen to the thousands of troops? Now we have a new man in the picture, Andrei Troshev. He is the new head in place of Prigozhin. He was heading the military side of the Wagner Group. He is a colonel of the Special Rapid Response Unit. He has received the title of Hero of the Russian Federation, which is the highest honorary title of the Russian Federation. This title is awarded to people for service to the Russian state and nation, usually connected with a heroic feat. Now Wagner Group will work directly under the Ministry of Defense, and no independent charge will be given. According to media reports, the group could be divided into 3 parts, each headed by a separate commander. The commands will be based on geographical location, 1 for Ukraine, 1 for Syria, and 1 for the rest of Africa. You must be wondering what happened to the deal that Lukashenko brokered between Wagner and Putin, according to which Wagner Group troops were supposed to settle in Belarus. Currently, only 500 out of several thousand mercenaries who had moved to Belarus remained there. Rest are in Africa and Ukraine. Prigozhin was not certainly the only one who died after a showdown with Putin. This is the town of Raigada, which is situated in the Indian state of Odisha. Pavel Antov came here to celebrate his birthday with his friends, But on Christmas 2022, he mysteriously fell from the window on the third floor of his hotel room. What is even more mysterious is that his friend, Vladimir Budanov, died in the same hotel, in the Rathore district. The reason for his death is still unclear. Few media reports suggest that he was poisoned, while others say that he suffered a heart stroke. The possibility is that even the poison could have triggered the heart stroke. Now let's jump to some mysterious deaths of Putin's opponents. For many decades, Russian scientists are believed to have worked to develop colorless and odorless poisons, and the testing of poisons was carried out on living prisoners. The two poisoning cases, most closely associated with Putin, both occurred in the UK. The case of the man who solved his own murder, Alexander Litvinenko. In 2006, a Putin opponent and former Russian spy, who defected to the UK, was poisoned with a cup of tea in a London hotel. Working with British detectives from Scotland's investigative department, as he lay dying in hospital, he traced the lethal substance back to a attacker from the Russian Secret Service, who was his former colleague. A British inquiry later concluded that Russian agents had killed Litvinenko, probably with Putin's approval. Shortly before his death, Litvinenko told journalists the Russian Secret Service was still operating poison laboratories, dating from the Soviet era. More than a decade later, Sergei Skripal, a former Russian military intelligence officer who had become a double agent for the UK, survived a poisoning with a nerve agent called Novichok. Novichok is in public attention because it has been used multiple times to poison opponents of the Russian government. Look at these visuals. This is what happens when a person is poisoned by Novichok. Another victim of Novichok poisoning was Alexei Navalny. In August 2020, the opposition leader, who is now jailed, fell ill on a flight from Siberia to Moscow. Navalny was later flown to Germany for treatment, where doctors established that he had been poisoned with Novichok. An investigation identified at least 8 FSB operatives who were allegedly behind Navalny's poisoning. One of the operatives allegedly involved later confessed to his role in a phone call with Alexei. There have been indications that Russia has continued the practice since Putin's troops invaded Ukraine. An investigative report by the independent news outlet The Insider alleged that 3 Russian journalists known for their anti-Russian stances might have been poisoned in foreign countries, including Germany and Georgia. While poison has emerged as the weapon of choice in Putin's Russia, several Kremlin critics have also been shot dead over the years. In 2006, Anna Politkovskaya, a journalist who reported on human rights abuses, was killed outside her flat in Moscow after returning home from the supermarket. What raises more suspicion is that the day she was assassinated happens to be Putin's 54th birthday. Many critics have labeled her assassination as a birthday gift. 5 men and 1 former police officer were later convicted of the murder, but those close to Politkovskaya described them as mere hired guns, carrying out somebody else's orders. It's been more than 20 years of this ruthlessness. It's my responsibility to cover it because democracy dies in darkness. You watching this video till the very last second is the most precious gift you can give to me. Thank you so much for your time.